Welcome to Single Moms on a Mission Part 1. I am Brandy M. Eccles. I have been given a task to talk to single mothers. I am a true testament of what it means to overcome many challenges that happen whenever we are faced with doing a lot on our own. Well, I just want to be very open, transparent, and that's what this page is all about. Transparency, having real, true conversations, getting to the nitty gritty of a lot of things. And I know that when we get down to the very roots of things, it brings healing, it brings help, it brings understanding, even clarity. For people that really don't know and understand what comes with being a single mother. I have been a single, unmarried woman from the time I got pregnant at the age of 19. Never been married before. I have desired marriage, but I thank God for slowing me down to really prepare me for my spouse when that time comes. But I can tell you that I've had to be the mother and the father. It has not been easy by any means. This page, this moment, this experience, this expression of love to our single mothers is very key to what is getting ready to happen for so many of you. You may be saying, well, I've heard the prophecy and I've heard encouragement, and people say they understand, but they really don't understand. And people may think that they know what I feel, but they really don't know what I feel. Well, I'm so glad that you have had the opportunity to come across this message today, because I really want to encourage you. I don't want you to give up. That's number one. But I also am going to share with you my testimony. I'm going to share with you the hardships, the struggles, the moments when I wanted to throw in the towel and just really say, God, take me from this earthly dwelling because I'm not even feeling this. Maybe they'll appreciate me gone more than they'll appreciate me being here. I've been down every avenue you can possibly think of, and I want to give you a reality check on what that looks like, because I have met so many people that think that they know what we really face as single mothers. And there are single fathers too. And I don't ever want to dismiss anybody, no matter on what level of parenting they are on. Maybe it's a single parent raising a foster child. Maybe it's a single parent raising a child because of the loss of the spouse or the loss of a loved one in any capacity. Maybe it's a grandparent who's raised all her children, and now he or she has to step in and take on the responsibility of one of their children's children. So this thing can go in a multitude of directions, but I really want to talk to our mothers. But even I believe it's going to bless everybody in some way, form, or fashion, and it'll also be relatable. I would love for it to be relatable to you, and I hope that it does. But I want to start off with this. At the age of 19, when I got pregnant with my son, it was literally after I had been promiscuous for some years. And it wasn't like it was 20 years or nothing like that. But for me, it was something that should have never even been a part of any decision that I ever made. And I lost my virginity at 17, and then it was from there. I didn't know anything about a transfer of spirits. I didn't know about anything that could, cause you to become somebody that you weren't, because here you are unaware, not knowledgeable, not carrying a lot of wisdom. And I found that there was a transfer. There was a spiritual transfer of things that began to transpire in my life. And everything that I never was, I became. And I became somebody who was unhappy. I became somebody who was sad. I became somebody who began to have murderous thoughts towards herself. I became somebody who was very just in a multitude of places that I had no business being mentally and emotionally. And you learn later in life that who you lay down with, you marry them. And so I married into the problems of that person. And I became a single mother a few years later. Short years. It wasn't even that long. A few short years later. So losing my virginity at 17, becoming promiscuous by 18, trying to come out of that life, not understanding what was coming with it. And now I'm pregnant by a man that I barely know, okay? And now here it is, we're getting ready to have a baby, and I didn't even know I was pregnant right away. It wasn't something where I just had morning sickness. It wasn't where I just knew, my body wasn't even changing. I still had a menstrual cycle. Like, things were happening, but I didn't know change was happening inside of me at the same time. And so when I tell you guys, like, finding out I was pregnant, it's my second year of college. I'm at Fort Valley State University. My boyfriend at the time was like, you're pregnant. Like, again, no morning sickness, no menstrual cycle that just stopped or anything. No, it was still going like it was supposed to. It was just, I would have never known. And here I am in the midst of the first biggest conflict. And that was acknowledging something by getting the proper help and finding out if what I am being told is actually true. I go to the nurse. She comes back and says to me, you are pregnant. And after that, she said, I want to pull you away from the person that you're with. And is it okay if I take you into the room and talk to you separately? I said, absolutely. She looked me in my eyes and she said, do not have an abortion. She said, don't let nobody tell you to have an abortion. And I said, okay. She said, I'm going to tell you why. She looks at me and she says, I got pregnant in college. And she said, I wanted to hide it from my parents, so I got an abortion. She said that was the biggest mistake of my life. And she said, because it was a mistake that I made by doing something I should have never done, she said, I found myself hearing a baby cry for days, and days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. She said she would always have visions of this child she was supposed to have. And so she said to me, it could have been worse, but thank God that you have a new baby coming into your life to help bring any change to you. I held on to those words. And although the boyfriend that I had at the time was pushing for the abortion, I remember going to the clinic knowing that wasn't something that I was wanting to do. I knew I was further along, and it just wasn't in my thoughts. Like, I went just to appease him, but I knew what they were going to tell me. And the lady looked at me and said, ma'am, you too far along. And she said, don't let nobody tell you again to have an abortion. You gonna have this baby. And that lady didn't know me from a can of paint. She didn't even know that this guy was going to be pushing me. And here it is. The nurse had already gave me a warning, right? Because of the way things happened, I didn't want anybody to know who my son's father might be. My son's father and I disconnected. I cut the cord with him immediately, primarily due to the fact that I learned from a relative that he was married. That's when I cut him off. So when I didn't know that I was pregnant and I'm still having a menstrual cycle and life is happening the way that I'm thinking that it should, I'm in the clear, so I think. Now I done moved on into a new relationship. I find out I'm pregnant. This person is already saying he's in question if the baby could be his or not. And he stuck with me through the process. But I want you all to know this is just the beginning of the story. Stay tuned for There Is More. Single Moms on a Mission, Part 1.